Okay, here I am. Let's get this going. Unfortunately, I don't have a PowerPoint like everyone else. I decided to try to take a more hands-on approach and show you the game engine I'm using directly, which is Unity. But I am, my name is Nicole, and I am Miss Tabby Tales of Smeg Cat Studio. I'm currently a one-woman indie dev who is programming and writing her first visual novel, The Counting Crows. Please forgive me as I am both a fledgling indie dev and programmer. But I really wanted to share today my experience using NaniNovel and how it has helped me to empower me to create my first game. I wanted to share what I've learned so far so that others can implement the same features into their game. NaniNovel actually has a very good website with an introductory guide and forum for questions. There was still a lot of trial and error on my part, so I will detail how to implement some common features. If there's an easier way to do something or something that would be cool to show folks how to do, let me know during the questions and presentation, or feel free to message me on Discord. But I really like NaniNovel for how streamlined it is. You just add it to your current project and away you go, essentially. So I'm just going to play a portion of my game here to kind of show you some of the features that I've managed to implement so far. And forgive me if it looks really bad. But this is this example of the default UI that comes with NaniNovel. It's a simple black translucent. It looks good, but definitely you want to be able to have your own spin on your game. So I've just started messing around a little. One of the main features I knew that I wanted in my game was to be able to choose your own protagonist. I wanted you to be able to choose to male or female. And so, if we click on Vera, you choose the female sprite, it automatically shows that. And if we go into the debugger, which will become your best friend, really, it'll show you all of your variables that are highlighted that I've changed. You can even use the player can even input their own name, their last name. You can submit it, and that will even change in the variables. You can choose the pronouns that you want. And that also changes. So if we actually go to the example of the game here, and it actually brings up the correct default sprite, the correct name, the correct pronouns, and everything kind of comes together for a more personal experience. But how exactly do we actually do this? So one of the things with NaniNovel that you'll get to learn real quick is the custom UI. Everything really, if you want your own buttons, you want your own sprites, you really are going to be using the custom UI for everything. And that will bring up a prefab that you'll pretty much be able to do everything with here. And then with NaniNovel, the way you set the variables. So if we go back into like the protagonist choice, for example, I have the buttons set up, and you can go to the inspector. You have to add the play script, but then you can set all your variable choices with a simple button click. And then you just let NaniNovel know what your custom variables are, and it will set it for you. So, and that's just a few things that NaniNovel can do. With just even picking your own sprite, but then also like the pronouns, for example, again, you go into each button, you have to set them, but you're literally setting all the variables that are going to change with this button click. And if you go into your script, you'll actually see how these variables are implemented. So it brings up the character sprite, it brings up the correct choice and with the correct expression. And then in the dialogue itself, you can actually put each of the where you're going to have the correct pronoun choices. And then even let's say you forget, you have your script, you forget that you need the, this needs to be third person possessive. You can actually, the cool thing is as the game is running, as you're play testing it, you can go ahead and change things in the script and it'll automatically change within the game too. So you can see it kind of real time, which is kind of nice. So you don't have to remember to go back and change all the little things you might have missed within your script. Back to Unity. Now, one of the slightly harder things to do, one thing you got to be careful with when messing with the custom UI, for example, I was trying to mess around with the custom input, so the player can add that first and last name, and this is one of the little harder things I stumbled upon. Some simple things like remembering to actually click all the boxes. Like when you create your name input, you really want to make sure you have that black input when visible, else your text box will do really weird and crazy things. And NaniNovel also has a lot of just really cool built-in features already. It has like a phone chat, and it really has everything implemented, and you just have to, you're really just expanding it from there. It has all the basics in place, and really the imagination is the limit. But one of the things I had to do with this custom input, since I wanted my own text boxes, I wanted my own look to it, I had to go in and create my own C# script. That's one thing that you may have run into occasion using NaniNovel, and really kind of having to know some basic programming knowledge is you need to let NaniNovel know, you need to have it be able to register so when the variables that are being taken from elsewhere and then given to the application so it can read it appropriately and the engine can respond. So I had to create my own script for that input to be registered, but it's really simple. Once you finally get the hang of it, it's basically the same. It's going to get the same input every time and kind of using that same structure from there. And there's a lot of other neat stuff. The developer of NaniNovel actually has a lot more descriptions, other things you can do with it, and it really is just taking your imagination from there. Let's see here, sorry. I lost the presentation, I apologize. But I really apologize for that being super quick. I did not mean to go through that so quickly, but does anybody have any questions, anything that I can demonstrate or explain more of?
Oh, Tim is asking, what does NaniNovel's default audio controls look like?
Default audio controls. You mean like the settings to get to the, so we were to, So we actually go to the game for the game. So now, right now, the kind of the default way, I'm kind of just using the default here that NaniNovel uses. This is sort of for the audio and everything. And in terms of this is what the default within the game looks like within NaniNovel. But you again can change this completely up, and the code is already there to set it up. And a lot of it, you're just changing the visual of, unless you want to expand upon it, and then it again will take some kind of C# knowledge, but hopefully that answers that question.
Okay, someone asked, what would you say was a learning curve for this relative to RenPy?
Well, the whole reason I personally got into Unity versus RenPy was because coding is not my day job. It's something that I've always been interested in and I've always really loved doing as a hobby. So I decided to take some classes at the local college, and my instructor recommended using Unity over GameMaker or any other type of platform, because I did have aspirations to like make other types of games, maybe even making a visual novel hybrid, like maybe like Corpse Party or something like that. So that's why I really started with Unity over RenPy, even though I had heard a lot of good things about RenPy and I've played with it before. But that's pretty much why I started with Unity, because I wanted something that was going to be capable of making a large amount of different games. But yeah, NaniNovel was hard at first, trying to figure out how to kind of use the UI. Was a little bit of a learning curve with that at first, but I just kept messing with it and eventually just kind of fell into place. You kind of have to mess with the object settings a little bit, but eventually it works out really well.
I think someone asked, like, it would be fun to show some example of like editing a script.
Oh yeah, sure. That's easy enough to do. So this is so you guys can see my script, right? Hopefully.
I don't see. Oh, it's probably a different window, right? If it's popping up like VS Code or something.
Okay, it's not coming. You guys aren't seeing it.
You'll probably have to share a different window. Maybe that's the thing.
I asked my husband to go over this with me, and he said he could see it, but that I guess I need better help. Okay, so I apologize. You guys did not see this at all earlier. I am so sorry. But this is an example of the NaniNovel script, and this is what I was kind of going on before that apparently you guys couldn't see. But this right here, I wanted an example of. So this is where this is where the sprite picture comes in, right? So that button press, when you choose between the protagonist, sets the sprite that the engine is going to use. So, and even though, so it can be Vera or Vaughn, and then this is telling it what expression to use. So I can use either of them, depending on whatever the player chooses, and then it'll pop up with the right expression. It's the same thing with using those third-person pronouns, whatever pronoun you identify as, it's going to come up correctly using the variable. So we just kind of interject the variable. It's not set, it's pulled in from the engine. So this is the example of using those custom variables that you can set in the game. But NaniNovel is very straightforward. It just basically uses just these set commands, here, and to do everything. And it's very straightforward. Like this is pretty much how you're bringing up your UI and hiding it. So this is what I did with. So this is what I did with that kind of intro part of it. I let the engine know what background to use, and then I let it know which UI I wanted to show and when to hide it. So each of those options are coming up so the player can click on them, and all the variables are being correctly registered from there. So it's really straightforward. The only C# coding you really have to do is when you're kind of just wanting to expand on what the engine can do. So with having to get that custom input, with wanting that custom text field, I had to make my own C# script just to give that information, give that input back to NaniNovel essentially. But it's, again, really straightforward once you figure it out. And the guides are pretty good. The application guides are pretty good and pretty straightforward. From there, they really give you at least the building blocks to start from. So I wish the forums were more active, but.
Okay, what else is there? Someone's saying, can you give an example of customizing default UIs and show how easy it is to tweak the design of your UI?
Okay, yes. Back to, where did my Unity disappear? So one of the things with NaniNovel, either you can again create your own, create your own custom UI from the ground up, or you can use one of NaniNovel's pre-built UI. So like with the whole pronouns, I just used the default settings UI and I just changed it up. I just got rid of some of the scripts on it and put my own on it and just kept the appearance. But if I wanted the custom UI here, now I can go in and rename it. I just open the prefab. I basically put whatever I need UI wise, and I just layer it. And like if I wanted a button, for example, and panel and everything, I create the look, and then I'm just putting the NaniNovel scripts on it, for example, like the play script. So when the button press happens, it's already automatically registering it with NaniNovel. But you definitely don't want to mess with the default prefabs in NaniNovel. You don't want to go into the same system because there could be compiling errors. It's better just to create another copy of it and edit it, and then just telling the system to bring up that custom UI, like in the script that I showed.
Cool. Let's see. Any more questions, guys? Because I have one. Has there been any feature where has there been anything you tried to do where it's like you thought this should be easy and it turns out to be not easy?
Well, yeah, that was the custom UI at first, because like one of the things that's kind of weird about NaniNovel that I was not quite used to when I first started playing around with Unity is that like there's no scenes, like there is no scenes, it's blank, like it just starts you off with blank. And then when you go to hit play, that's when you see your background and that's when you see your menu. If you really want to be able to see the UI that you're interacting with, you have to kind of go into the prefab and look at it there and kind of how it's set up, like the dialog box or like the pro tag choice. Like I had to really be able to really see it. I had to edit it in the prefab, which was kind of weird. That was kind of weird at first. It's not that you can't drag things into the scene and everything and see it, but it's just Unity, NaniNovel just doesn't automatically show it. And that's right. Like you watch the Unity tutorials and everything's dragged into the scene. So you don't get to see it right away, which was a little odd at first.
All right. Okay. And someone asked, can this be used in Unity's 3D mode to create, for example, a visual novel that has 3D elements like the game Inscription?
So according to NaniNovel, it can. I have never worked with 3D, but I mean, really with NaniNovel, if you just wanted to use like the dialogue system or anything like that, or I think their phone chat's really cool. They're just their printer that they use. Like you can use all those things, and you can use it with 3D. I haven't done it myself, but it does. I know it is possible.
Someone's asking if you have any personal recommendations for tutorials that you like.
So that's one of the little bit of issues with NaniNovel is that there really isn't a lot of information on it outside of the forums and then the creators guide for it. There isn't a lot of like just general YouTube videos, but combining like just general YouTube tutorials on Unity and the NaniNovel information, you can pretty much, combine the two. Because that's how I kind of figured out getting input from Unity and using it and not like doing that custom input with those text fields. Kind of how I figured out how to combine the two together was watching YouTube tutorials, just general Unity, and then using NaniNovel's information. But it streamlines a lot of the stuff. So you would like it saves you from having to code a whole dialogue system, for instance, from scratch. It saves you from having to program what buttons what the buttons normally would do. It does save a lot of time, and so you don't have to program that from the ground up, which is kind of nice.
Cool. All right, anything else you want to show us? We do have some time, that's why.
Oh, okay. I didn't think I had as much time. Whoopsies.
I don't know. I think we're probably 35. Yeah, we go up until like 55. So it's essentially.
Oh, okay. Mistimed myself and I apologize.
No, it's fine. You have about 10 minutes and we can totally just show everything you want.
Oh, goodness.
It is okay if you don't. This is a live demo and things can go crazily wrong. Someone's asking, is NaniNovel free or does it cost something?
NaniNovel is not free, and I admittedly, the price I can imagine is probably a bit of a factor for a lot of people whether they get it or not. But NaniNovel, a lot of I know they usually have quite a few times during the year they'll be half off, which does make it a lot more bearable. But having come from someone who has attempted to code their visual novel from the ground up and maybe doesn't have the best programming skills yet, NaniNovel has been tremendously helpful in that regard, because I have tried to do it from the ground up, and unfortunately my programming skills aren't quite there yet. So I'm grateful for having a lot of the features, like the general features, like I said, the dialogue and everything already built in is tremendously helpful. Really helps to prevent rage quitting. But on another thing with NaniNovel is you have to kind of tell it what to do in the resources, like for instance, the custom variables, you need to make sure that, you're registering the variables in there and registering it in your code. Same thing with characters. You can manage all your characters from one place, and then you can just call it within the script. So that's kind of the cool thing. So I have all of my sprites in here. And then I just, once the players inputted their choice, who they want to be, then it just calls up the appropriate expression. Same thing with backgrounds. You upload all your backgrounds into here, but then you can literally call whatever background you need at the moment. And it's just as simple as using the ampersand and then the background and then the image, the name of the image that you're trying to call.
All right. Any other questions or from the audience about things you would like to see? So someone has their project up and you kind of like poke around in it. It's not very often you get to see someone else's code.
Have you ever worked with the spawn system in Nani and Unity? Could you explain what you mean by spawn? Now, what I've been thinking about how I might be able to use oh wait, okay. Oh, using the particle effects. Okay, I have not used them myself yet, except I will say that I was playing around with it and I did go for a rain effect, so I can show that. I haven't got too deep into particles yet, but so there's like, if you can see like in this whole little flashback thing I have going on, you can see that there's kind of rain in the background and that there is rain audio. But just, so that's example, one of the particle systems they do use. There is rain, there's snow, and you can do a bunch of other stuff too. Really, creativity is really the limit.
Wolf is asking, do you know how strong the accessibility options are for Nani?
What was the question?
Accessibility, like, do you know if it has like accessibility options?
Not to my knowledge. Admittedly, I have not probably gotten far enough in the process to think about that yet, but no, I don't know, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think to potentially use NaniNovel even with like 3D stuff would be really cool. I can imagine how easy it would be nice to be used, because I have played around with, you can as long as you don't have NaniNovel set to load immediately upon playing, it's just sitting there in the background essentially. So you can like I was creating like just playing around with like a 2D movable character, and that was just sitting off in the background. So I'm sure like you'd have to pull in a C# script, but if your character interacts with block, then you could have like dialogue come up or something like that. That would totally be feasible. Or talking between characters and all that you could just use with NaniNovel instead of having, again, to completely program the dialogue from the ground up.
Cool. All right. Any more questions from the audience? People have been asking all sorts of like things from the other NaniNovel experts, like porting to Switch and stuff, which sounds like it's fairly simple. What else is there? All right. If there's not anything else, we can let the next person get ready to go. But thank you so much for showing your stuff, showing your work, answering all these questions.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's not easy standing up and showing a work in progress. So thank you for that. Okay. Who is up next? Wolf, you are up.
It should be me, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to test to make sure people can hear sound as well once I put it up.
Yeah, there should be a little option for like share your sound.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.